The Krell Dominion ruled 300 star systems with iron control and cold pride for over 2,000 cycles. Their ships were huge, their weapons were perfect, their minds were certain that no other race could ever match them. The blue planet called Earth sat far out on the edge of known space. Humans lived there. They were small, they were young, they were loud. The Dominion watched them for many years. At first, the Krell laughed. Humans built rockets that barely left their world. They fought wars over tiny patches of land. They still used metal bullets and chemical rockets. The Dominion sent scout ships. Humans shot at them with missiles that could not even scratch the hulls. The Krell sent warnings. Humans answered with rude messages in every language they knew. The Dominion grew tired of the noise. High Command met in the Great Dome above Vexara Prime. The leaders sat in a circle of black stone. Each wore robes of deep red. Light from the triple suns came through crystal walls and made long shadows. Admiral Zorak stood tall. His skin was pale gray. His eyes were narrow slits. He spoke first. "This species refuses reason. They mock our offers. They arm their moons. They hide weapons in their asteroid belts. They will never bow. We must end this threat before it spreads." The council listened. Other admirals nodded. Some looked worried. One voice spoke softly from the far side of the circle. "What if they grow stronger? What if they learn from us?" Zorak turned his head slowly. "They are insects. They will never understand our science. We give them one final gift, a gift that teaches silence." They called it the Oblivion Lance. It was not a ship. It was a weapon shaped like a long spear. The body was dense alloy. The length reached almost the size of a small moon. Inside waited a core of antimatter, wrapped in perfect fields. When the fields dropped, the core would touch normal matter. Then everything would burn. A chain reaction would spread through rock and air. The planet would crack open. The sky would catch fire. No life would remain. The lance moved fast. It used stolen gravity tech to bend space just enough to reach deadly speed without wasting power. It needed no crew. It needed no mercy. It needed only time. Engineers built it in secret yards above the gas giant Clyther. Workers wore heavy suits. They moved slowly in the dark. They fitted each piece with care. Every seal was checked 3 times. Every circuit was tested until it sang perfect notes. When the weapon was finished, the High Command gathered again. They watched from a safe distance as tugs pushed the lance away from the yards. It drifted for days. Then its engines woke. A soft blue glow appeared along its sides. The glow grew brighter. The lance began to move. It left the system. It headed toward the long dark between stars. The journey took many human years. The Krell did not care. Time meant nothing to them. They sent no chase. They sent no scouts. They simply waited. The lance traveled in silence. It avoided every sensor net. It slipped past trade routes. It moved like a shadow through the void. Inside its brain, simple orders repeated. Endpoint, Sol 3. Target primary inhabited body. Detonate on contact. No survivors, no messages, no second chances. On Earth, the years passed slowly. Humans argued and built and dreamed. Cities grew taller. Ships flew faster. Colonies appeared on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. The old wars faded. New ones almost started, but stopped at the last moment. People looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone looked back. Most said no. Most said the galaxy was empty or too far or too dangerous. A few said something was coming. Those few were called crazy. They kept working anyway. One night in a deep bunker under old Antarctica, a screen blinked red. An astronomer named Maria Vega saw it first. She rubbed her eyes. She checked again. The dot on her screen moved too fast for a comet. It moved too straight for a natural object. She sent an alert. Teams woke up in every time zone. Radars turned dishes, moved telescopes, focused. Ships left their stations to chase the signal. The object grew larger on every screen. It ignored every hailing call. It came closer every hour. The Terran Defense Coalition met in emergency session. Leaders from every nation sat together. They no longer shouted, they listened. A general spoke first. "It is a weapon. We all know what it means." An ambassador from the Pacific Union nodded. "We have seen designs like this in old probe data. The Krell use them when they want no mess, no prisoners, no chance." They named the incoming thing the Lance, because that was what the first blurry images showed. A long, perfect spear aimed straight at Earth. No one panicked. Not yet. People worked faster. Engineers pulled old plans from dusty files. Scientists ran numbers on screens. Students stayed up all night, coding. Soldiers checked weapons that suddenly felt very small. Against a planet killer, those weapons looked like toys. Maria Vega stood in the control room, watched the numbers climb. She spoke quietly to her team. "We have maybe 6 months, maybe less. We cannot stop it with what we have. But we can try to understand it. If we understand it, maybe we can touch it. Maybe we can turn it. Maybe we can send it home." No one laughed. No one argued. They nodded. They went back to work. Telescopes took better pictures. Probes raced out to meet the Lance. They died one by one. Each death gave new data. Each piece of data went straight to the labs. Humans are good at many things. They are very good at taking things apart. They are even better at putting things back together in ways no one expects. The Lance kept coming. It crossed the orbit of Neptune. It crossed Uranus. It crossed Saturn. The glow from its engines became visible to backyard telescopes. People stood in fields and pointed. They whispered to their children, "Look, that is death coming for us all." The children stared wide-eyed. Some cried, some smiled and said cool. Stopped. Teams of coders broke into the Lance signal. They found patterns. They found code. They found arrogance written in math. The Krell had not bothered to hide much. They thought no one could ever reach the weapon. They thought no one could ever read it. They were wrong. One engineer named Jamal from Lagos sat at his station. He stared at lines of alien script. He laughed once, then grew quiet. He turned to his partner. "This thing is beautiful. It is terrible. It is also stupid. They made it perfect, but they made it simple. They left doors. They left keys. They left room for someone smarter." The council watched the skies every day. The Lance grew bigger. It filled more screens. It blocked more stars. Earth prepared for the end, not with fear but with focus. Factories ran day and night. Ships gathered in loose formations. Scientists shared every secret they had ever kept. People who once hated each other now worked side by side. They all knew the same truth. If the Lance hits, nothing survives. Lance turns, maybe something does. The weapon entered the outer edge of the system. It slowed just a little. It let the Dominion know it had arrived. A message came through every channel. The voice was calm. It was cold. It spoke in perfect human languages. "Your time ends now. Accept the verdict. Watch your world burn. We are the Dominion. We are final." Humans listened. They did not answer with words. They answered with action. Small ships moved out. Freighters turned toward the Lance. Science vessels followed. Salvage teams waited. The game began. Not a game of destruction, a game of learning, a game of taking what was given and making it better. The Lance came closer. Earth waited. The stars watched. Humanity prepared to do what it always did best: survive, improve, win. The Lance entered the outer system like a silent arrow, cutting through black nothing. Probes from Earth raced toward it, one after another. They died fast. Bright flashes marked each death. Krell sensors watched from far away and recorded every failure. The Dominion laughed in their command halls. Small human ships tried to ram the weapon. They broke apart like dry leaves against stone. The Lance did not slow. It did not turn. It kept coming straight, At the Blue World. Far from the fighting, a plain old freighter drifted into position. The ship carried the name SS Harvey's Auto and Salvage, painted in faded white letters on its rusty hull. The crew came from many places. Some grew up in Nebraska fields. Some walked hot streets in Lagos. The captain was a quiet woman named Aisha. She had gray streaks in her hair and steady hands. The engineer was Jamal, the same man who first laughed at the alien code in the bunker. Others were welders, coders, drivers, teachers. Anyone who could hold a tool or read a screen joined the team. No one wore uniforms. No one saluted. They just worked. The freighter matched speed with the Lance. It used every bit of fuel to stay close. Magnetic grapples shot out and locked onto the smooth surface of the weapon. A soft clang echoed through the hull. The connection held. The Krell analysts saw the move on their screens. They sent messages to each other. A suicide run. How pathetic. They turned back to their drinks and ignored the tiny ship. They did not see the real action. Cables snaked from the freighter to the Lance. Small drones crawled along the surface like insects. They found access ports. They plugged in. Data flowed both ways. The Lance brain was simple. It followed orders without question. It had no defenses against conversation. Humans spoke to it in math and code. The weapon answered without knowing why. Back on Earth, labs buzzed with light and noise. Teams worked in shifts that never ended. People slept on floors and ate cold food, feeds from the freighter. Every byte of data went straight to the best minds. Scientists stared at the numbers. Engineers drew quick sketches on walls. Physicists argued in low voices, then nodded and changed plans. The Lance used antimatter in a clever way. The containment fields were tight and beautiful, but they were also stiff. They followed rules that humans already knew from old particle machines. Jamal sat at a console in the freighter. His fingers moved fast. He typed lines of code. He sent them into the Lance. He received answers back. He smiled once, then went quiet again. "This thing is proud," he said to Aisha. "It thinks it is perfect, but it left holes, big ones. We can walk right in." Aisha nodded. She watched the external cameras. The Lance skin looked flawless under starlight, but close up, tiny seams showed. Tiny flaws from rushed building. The Krell trusted their design too much. They never thought anyone would get this close. They never thought anyone would dare touch it. Past. The freighter stayed attached like a tick. The crew ate ration bars. They drank recycled water. They fixed leaks. They patched wires. They never stopped talking to the weapon. One team found the trigger logic. Another found the propulsion controls. A third team mapped the warhead itself. The antimatter core sat in perfect suspension. It waited for the signal to drop its shield and burn everything. The humans studied it. They took pictures. They measured fields. They ran tests on small models in their own labs. On the ground, new machines hummed. Microgravity factories spun above Earth. They built strange parts, metamaterials from old fusion projects, gravity tricks stolen from wrecked Krell scouts. Everything came together fast. People shared ideas without pride. No one cared who thought of what. They cared only about speed. One night in the main lab, Maria Vega stood before a big screen. The Lance appeared as a wireframe model. Layers peeled away to show insides. She pointed to a red spot. "This is the weak point," she said. "The cascade starts here. If we reinforce the bottle just a little more, the yield goes up, not down, up." The room went quiet. Then people cheered. They did not shout loud. They clapped hands and went back to work. The Krell watched from their distant seats. They saw the freighter still clinging. They saw no explosions. They saw no damage. They grew bored. "The weapon is unstoppable," they said. "Let the insects play." They turned their eyes to other problems. They forgot about the small ship. They forgot about the quiet conversation. Inside the Lance, changes started. Small at first. The containment fields grew stronger. New codes slipped into old routines. The propulsion hummed a different tune. The brain still followed the old orders, but now it listened to new ones too. The humans did not force anything. They asked nicely. They explained. They promised nothing bad would happen if the weapon just learned a little. We are borrowing it. We are making it better. Then we send it home with a thank you note. The team laughed. They knew the joke was dark, but they also knew it was true. Weeks went by. The Lance crossed more orbits. It passed Jupiter. It passed Mars. The glow from its engines lit up the night sky for people on Earth. Children pointed. Parents held them close. Everyone knew time was short, but no one ran. No one hid. They worked. Jamal sent the last big update. He watched the numbers change. He saw the yield climb. He saw the speed increase. He saw the return path lock in. He leaned back in his chair. "It is done," he said. "The Lance is ours now. Not really ours, but better than it was." The freighter released its grapples. It pulled away slow. The Lance stayed on course for a moment. Then it turned. The engines flared brighter. The weapon flipped its path. It began the long climb back toward Krell space. The speed was higher. The course was sharper. The message was clear. Humans watched from every screen. They did not cheer loud. They smiled small smiles. They hugged each other. They went back to their stations. Some cried quiet tears of relief. Some stared at the stars and whispered thanks. The Lance moved faster every hour. It carried new scars from human welds. It carried extra fins from Earth shipyards. It carried code written by people who refused to die quietly. It carried a promise written in every system. The Krell would see it coming. They would wonder why their perfect weapon returned. They would learn soon enough. Humans do not break things for fun. Humans improve things. When you give them a bomb, they do not run. They study. They build. They send it back upgraded. The stars stayed silent. The galaxy waited. The Lance flew home. The Lance turned away from Earth and started its journey back toward the heart of the Krell Dominion. The glow from its engines burned brighter than before. The speed climbed higher every hour. Small changes made by human hands turned the weapon into something new, something faster, something sharper. The scars from Earth welds showed clearly on its long body. Extra radiator fins stuck out like awkward wings. They glowed red-hot as the Lance pushed itself beyond old limits. The Krell had built a perfect killer. Humans had built a better student. Aboard the SS Harvey's Auto and Salvage, the crew watched the departing weapon. Aisha stood on the bridge with her arms crossed. She said nothing. Her eyes followed the bright streak until it became a tiny pin of light. Jamal sat at his console. He checked the last data packets one more time. Everything held. The new code ran clean. The fields stayed strong. The trigger now listened to outside commands. He leaned back and rubbed his face. We did it. We really did it. On Earth, the lab stayed busy even after the Lance left. People did not stop. They kept building, they kept testing. They knew one weapon could start a fight, but many minds could finish it. Teams shared every note, every sketch, every failed test. They turned failure into lessons. Factories above the planet spun faster. New ships took shape. Some carried weapons, some carried sensors, some carried nothing but hope. The Terran Defense Coalition met every day. Leaders listened to reports. They asked hard questions. They gave clear orders. No one wasted time on blame. Everyone focused on what came next. Maria Vega walked through the main orbital lab. She stopped at a window and looked out at the stars. The Lance was gone, but its shape stayed in her mind. She turned to a young coder named Lynn. "The weapon learned from us," she said. "Now we must learn from it." Lynn nodded fast. She pulled up new screens. Data from the Lance filled every line. Antimatter tricks, gravity bends, warp, hints. Humans had guessed at these things for years. Now they had proof. Now they had pieces to copy. Jamal sent a final message from the freighter to Earth Command. "The bird is flying home," he wrote. "We tagged it with love and upgrades. Expect fireworks." The reply came quick. "Good work. Keep the engines hot. We may need you again." Aisha smiled for the first time in weeks. She ordered the crew to set course back to Earth. They needed rest, they needed food, they needed to see faces that were not lit by screens. The Lance flew through empty space. It ignored old navigation locks. It ignored Krell recall codes. Its brain now carried human fingerprints in every routine. The return path cut decades into weeks. The engines pushed harder. The fields held tighter. The core waited patient and calm. Inside the warhead, the cascade trigger sat ready. It no longer needed decades to arm. It needed only a single clear command. Deep in Krell space, the first alarm sounded. Quiet at first. A distant sensor station picked up the signature. The operators stared at their screens. The signal matched the Oblivion Lance. But the speed was wrong. The vector was wrong. The energy readings climbed too high. They sent urgent messages to High Command. The replies came slow. The admirals were busy with parades and feasts. They thought the weapon had finished its job. They thought Earth was ash. They were wrong. Admiral Zorak sat in his private chamber. He reviewed trade reports. He sipped bitter wine. A young officer entered and bowed low. "Sir, the Lance returns." Zorak looked up slowly. "Impossible. It was programmed for one way." The officer held out a tablet. "The numbers do not lie. It moves at double speed. It carries unknown modifications." Zorak stood. His robe fell open at the chest. He took the tablet. He stared at the data. His gray skin paled. He said one word: "Prepare." The Dominion fleet scrambled. Ships left docks in haste. Formations gathered around Vexara Prime. Shield generators hummed to life. The triple suns cast long shadows across the capital world. People walked in streets. They looked up. They saw warships. They felt safe. They did not know fear yet. The Lance crossed into Dominion space. It ignored border markers. It ignored challenge signals. It flew straight and true. Krell scouts tried to intercept. They fired beams. They launched missiles. The Lance dodged without slowing. Its new gravity tech bent paths just enough. Every shot missed. The scouts died fast. Their wrecks tumbled into the dark. High Command gathered in the Great Dome again. The leaders sat in the same black circle. Light from the sun still made long shadows, but now the shadows felt colder. Zorak spoke first. "The weapon comes back changed. We must destroy it before it reaches the core worlds." Voices rose. Some shouted panic. Some shouted orders. One admiral stood. "We built it. We control it. Send the override." The override code was sent. The Lance received it. It read the string. It ignored the string. It kept coming. Vexara Prime worked in panic. They pulled old plans. They ran simulations. Nothing matched the new readings. The yield had grown. The speed had grown. The shields had grown. They whispered to each other. The humans touched it. They improved it. They sent our death back to us. The Lance entered the inner system. It passed gas giants. It passed asteroid mines. It passed trade stations. Krell ships formed a wall. They fired everything they had. The Lance slipped through gaps. It used tight turns. It used burst speed. It left burning hulks behind. The Dominion fleet bled. Ships died in silence. The Lance did not gloat. It simply moved forward. On Earth, people watched live feeds from long-range probes. They saw the battles. They saw the Lance dance. They saw Krell pride crack. The room stayed quiet. No one cheered too loud. They knew what came next. They knew the lesson was not over. Aisha and her crew landed on Earth. They stepped out into warm air. They smelled grass. They felt wind. Jamal looked at the sky. He said softly, "Thank you for the blueprint. We made some changes. Hope you like them." The Lance reached the edge of Vexara's system. It slowed just enough to be seen clearly. Its hull carried fresh marks, human marks. The radiator fins glowed like warning lights. The weapon hung in space like a judge. It waited. It listened. It prepared. A single message burst from the lance. It went to every channel. It went to every ship. It went to every world. The voice was calm. It was human. It spoke in clear words. Thanks for the gift. We learned a lot. We made it better. Now watch. The stars stayed quiet. The galaxy held its breath. The lance waited for the next move. The lance hung in low orbit, above the industrial moon that had given it birth. The moon was called Clither Forge, a giant sphere of metal and fire, where the Krell built their greatest weapons. Smoke rose from thousands of stacks. Bright arcs of plasma lit the dark side. Ships moved in slow lines, like ants carrying food. The lance floated silent. Its engines stayed cool. Its hull showed every human weld and extra fin. The scars looked proud. They looked like battle marks from a fight no one else had seen. High Command watched from Vexara Prime, the great dome filled with tense bodies. Admirals stood instead of sat. Their robes hung loose. Their eyes stayed fixed on huge screens. Zorak gripped the edge of the black stone table. His knuckles turned white. "The weapon is ours," he said again and again. "The override should work. It must work." An engineer beside him shook his head. "The code changed, sir. The humans rewrote the core. We have no back door anymore." Panic spread through the command halls. Officers shouted orders. Fleet groups moved into new positions. Heavy cruisers formed a ring around the moon. Destroyer wings swept close. Missile batteries powered up. Shield domes glowed blue over factories and worker cities. The Krell people looked up from their tasks. They saw the warships. They saw the lance. They felt the first cold touch of doubt. The lance waited. It did not fire. It did not speak. It simply existed like a judge who already knew the sentence. Inside its brain the new code ran smooth, human code mixed with old Krell logic. The trigger waited for one word, one thought, one push. The yield sat higher than the day it left Earth. The containment held stronger. The speed sat ready if needed. The humans had not made a monster. They had made a mirror. A single tight beam shot from the lance. It hit every open channel in the sector, every ship, every station, every home screen. The message played in calm, clear human voice. "You showed us how to build this. We made it better." This, a free lesson in reciprocity. Screens across the Dominion flickered. The schematics appeared. Complete Dominion schematics. Every layer, every circuit, every secret. The humans had taken them apart. They had put them back together. They had marked weak spots in red. They had drawn better paths in blue. They had added notes in simple words. "Fix this here. Add this there. You forgot this." Humans do not forget. Workers in the forges stopped moving. They stared at walls where the data played. Engineers dropped tools. Officers froze mid-order. The knowledge poured out like water from a broken dam. The Dominion had hidden nothing from itself. Now nothing stayed hidden from anyone. The lance had become teacher and warning in one quiet package. Zorak slammed his fist on the table. "Enough," he shouted. "Destroy it now." The order went out. The fleet opened fire. Beams lanced across space. Missiles streaked in bright lines. The lance moved for the first time. It tilted just a fraction. Paths. Beams curved away. Missiles lost lock and tumbled harmless. Every shot missed. The weapon danced slow and sure. It used only what it needed. No waste, no anger. Just perfect motion. The Krell fired again. Harder, faster. More ships joined. The sky above the moon filled with light and death. The lance stayed calm. It drifted lower. It picked a single target. The main assembly yard where its own body had been shaped. The yard stretched wide, full of cradles and gantries and half-built hulls. The lance aimed straight at the heart of it. Fleet captains screamed new orders. "Ram it! Block it, sacrifice ships. The lance ignored them. It closed distance, slow and certain. At the last moment, it fired a tight deceleration burn. The gravity bubble squeezed space just right. The speed dropped fast. The weapon parked itself in perfect low orbit above the yard. Engines went dark. It sat there like a trophy no one wanted. No explosion came, no fire, no end. The lads simply hung. The message repeated on every page. Channel P. Next time you send us something, make sure it is something we cannot improve. We will be waiting. Then the core opened just a little. A contained burst ripped out. Bright white light swallowed the assembly yard. Machines melted, gantries fell, cradles twisted. The shock wave rolled across the moon. Surface domes cracked. Air rushed out. Workers ran for shelters. Many made it, many did not. The lance had chosen mercy. It killed the place that birthed it. It spared the lives around it. The lesson landed hard, but not final. The burst ended. The yard lay in ruins. Smoke rose slow. The lance stayed still for one more hour. Then it turned. Its engines woke soft and blue. It climbed away from the moon. It climbed away from the fleet. It climbed toward open space. No one chased it. No one dared. The ships hung quiet. Their guns stayed silent. Their captains stared at empty screens. Zorak sank into his chair. His face looked older. His eyes looked empty. The council sat in shock. No one spoke for a long time. One voice finally broke the quiet. "What now, Admiral?" Zorak looked up slow. "We wait. We learn. We do not send another. We talk." Across the Dominion worlds, the news spread fast. People gathered in streets. They watched replays. They whispered. The humans did this. The small ones, the loud ones, the primitives. They took our death and sent it home better. The pride that once filled every chest now cracked. The fear that never lived there before now grew roots. On Earth the feeds came in clear. People stood in squares. They sat in homes. They watched the contained burst. They saw the message. They heard the human voice. No one cheered wild. No one danced. They nodded. They smiled small smiles. They hugged strangers. They went back to work. Maria Vega stood on a balcony above the main lab. She looked at the night sky. She spoke quiet. The galaxy just got a little smaller. Jamal walked up beside her. He carried 2 cups of hot tea. He handed one to her. They stood together. They sipped. Stars. They knew the next part would come soon. Ambassadors, treaties, questions, apologies. Humans would listen. They would trade. They would teach. They would never bow. But they would not start wars. They preferred to finish them. The lance flew into deep space. It left the Dominion behind. It left warnings in its wake. The Krell would remember. The stars would remember. Humanity had spoken clear. When you hand us fire, do not act surprised when we learn to aim. The quiet returned. The galaxy breathed slow. The lessons settled deep. No one forgot. The Krell Dominion changed after the lance returned home. Worlds that once stood tall now stood careful. Ships that flew proud now flew slow. Admirals who shouted orders now spoke quiet. The fracture started small. First one system refused to pay taxes. Then another stopped sending troops. Then border stations went dark. The High Command tried to hold the pieces together. They sent messages. They sent threats. They sent promises. Nothing worked. The fear had taken root, deep and wide. The fear of humans. Ambassadors gathered in neutral space, far from Vexara Prime. They came from many Krell worlds. Some came angry. Some came scared. All came because staying home felt worse. A single station floated in empty black. A gray cylinder with no flags. The humans sent one ship. The ship looked small next to the Krell cruisers. It carried no guns. It carried no shields. It carried people. Aisha stood on the bridge again. Jamal stood beside her. Maria Vega came too. They wore plain clothes, no armor, no rank. Looked like anyone else. The meeting room had a long table made of dark stone. Krell sat on one side, humans sat on the other. No one smiled, no one frowned. They simply looked at each other. An old Krell named Lirok spoke first. His voice sounded tired. "We came to talk. We came to understand why you sent our weapon back." The humans listened. Aisha answered calm. "We did not start this. You sent death to our home. We caught it. We studied it. We sent it home with improvements. We wanted you to see what happens when you hand us tools." Lirok nodded slow. "We see now. The Council on Vexara Prime has fallen apart. Many want peace. Many want revenge. We want to know what you want." Aisha leaned forward. "We want quiet. We want trade. We want respect. We do not want your empire. We do not want your worlds. We want to live without looking over our shoulders every night." Jamal spoke next. His voice stayed even. "You gave us your best bomb. We made it better. Next time, give us something we can share. Builds instead of breaks." Maria Vega added quiet words. "We are not monsters. We are curious. We are stubborn. We learn fast. When you treat us like insects, we sting. When you treat us like equals, we talk." The Krell listened long. The room stayed silent, except for soft breathing. Finally Lirok stood. "We will take your words home. We will speak to what remains of our council. We ask for time." Humans nodded. "Time is fair." They shook hands, awkward and new. The Krell left first. Their ships pulled away slow. The human ship waited until the last cruiser vanished. Then it turned toward Earth. News spread fast on human worlds. People gathered in streets, in markets, in parks. They watched screens, they read messages, they talked quiet. No parades, no fireworks, just nods and small smiles. A bar in rebuilt Nairobi filled with workers. One engineer who once welded fins onto the lance raised his glass. He spoke to the room. "We did not want to be the galaxy monsters, but if you hand us the knife, do not act surprised. When we sharpen it." People laughed soft. They clinked glasses. They drank. They went home to sleep sound for the first time in years. Earth kept working. Factories built new ships. Labs tested new drives. Schools taught old lessons with new stories. Children drew pictures of the lance. Some drew it exploding. Some drew it shaking hands. The teachers smiled. They did not correct the pictures. They let the children dream. Years passed. The treaties grew stronger, clearer. Ships from Krell worlds visited Sol. They brought gifts, rare metals, strange plants, songs and languages no human knew. Humans sent back machines, books, music, tools that made life easier. No one bowed, no one begged. Trade flowed both ways. Respect grew slow but sure. One day, a Krell scout ship arrived at the edge of human space. It carried a single passenger, an old admiral named Zorak. He had no guards. He had no weapons. He asked to speak with the people who touched the lance. Aisha met him on a small station above Mars. Jamal and Maria. They sat in a plain room with big windows. Stars filled the view. Zorak looked older. His skin hung looser. His eyes looked softer. He spoke first. "I was wrong. I thought you were nothing. I thought our science was final. I was wrong." Aisha listened quiet. Zorak continued. "We lost much. We lost pride. We lost ships. We lost trust. But we gained something too. We learned caution. We learned that power without wisdom is a trap. Thank you for the lesson." Humans said nothing at first. Then Maria spoke. "We accept your thanks. We hope the next lesson comes from books instead of bombs." Zorak nodded. He stood. He bowed low, not as a servant, but as someone who finally understood. He left the station. His ship turned away. It flew home slow. The humans watched until it became a speck. Then they turned back to their work. The galaxy grew quieter after that. Ships moved careful. Voices stayed calm. Stories spread from world to world. The tale of the lance became legend. Some called it the day the small ones taught the big ones. Others called it the day arrogance met ingenuity. Children on many worlds heard the story. They asked questions. Why did the Krell send the bomb? Why did the humans send it back? Why did no one win the war? Parents answered simple. Because someone thought they could end a problem with fire, and someone else thought fire could be shaped into light. On Earth, life went on. People laughed. People cried. People built. People dreamed. The stars looked the same, but the way people looked at them changed. No longer empty, no longer scary, just full of questions waiting for answers. Jamal stood on a hill one night. He looked up at the sky. Aisha joined him. They stood quiet for a long time. He spoke first. "We survived," he said. "We did more than survive. We changed the rules." She smiled small. "Yes, we reminded everyone. The most dangerous thing in the universe is not a big bomb. It is giving curious minds time, tools, and a reason." They walked down the hill together. The wind blew, soft. The night stayed peaceful. The galaxy turned slow. And somewhere far away, a new generation of engineers looked at old schematics. They smiled. They started drawing. They started dreaming. They started improving. Humanity never asked to rule. They never asked to conquer. They only asked to be left alone. When that wish got broken, they answered the only way they knew how. They took what was given. They made it better. They sent it back.